Chicago Tonight, Black Voices is made possible in part by Fifth Third Bank and by the support of these donors.
At Fifth Third, we believe when diverse voices are heard and empowered, communities are made stronger, lives are made better, and the future holds greater promise for all. That's why we're proud to support Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can drive change.
Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Black Voices. I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, the head of the Shriver Center on Poverty Law on what the new Biden administration could mean for communities of color, and efforts to make those communities the center of COVID recovery efforts through the Together We Rise initiative. Plus, extending the red line further south, a new life for the former home of Emmett Till, and we're giving you the blues in this week's Throwback. First tonight, one of the lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic so far has been an exacerbation of inequities for people already at society's margins. As the Biden administration prepares to take over during one of the greatest challenges in the nation's history, advocates for those living in poverty want to make sure their voices don't get lost in the transition. Joining us now with more is AUDRA Wilson, President and CEO of the Chicago-based Shriver Center on Poverty Law. Welcome to Chicago Tonight, Black Voices, AUDRA.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, of course, top of mind for everyone, these skyrocketing COVID-19 numbers. The Biden administration has already announced the folks who will serve on his coronavirus task force. What are your thoughts so far on those folks?
I think the selections so far are great, and obviously there are more to come. This is the single most important thing that he's going to have to do in his new administration, because we can't talk about any economic recovery or any other situation until we have this crisis under control.
What are you hoping to see from the Biden administration with regards to COVID relief for individuals and families?
Well, a few things are going to have to happen. We've already had some recovery efforts, obviously, from the first stimulus, but we'll need another stimulus to keep families and communities stabilized in the meantime, as we're trying to find whether it's not a cure, obviously, but being able to
better treatment and vaccines.
Better treatments, exactly, for our communities. So the economic stimulus is going to be very important. You have to understand that in this crisis, the people who've been on the front lines, our essential workers, have been predominantly Black and brown workers, our immigrants. These are the ones who have been so vulnerable, and yet they're the ones who find themselves either with limited health care options, they have not paid sick leave, they have challenges with even finding proper vacation days, sick leave, all these sorts of things that are really impeding their ability to stay safe. And so that's why they are a priority. And so that's what we are focused on, obviously, in our work.
So the Biden administration has also announced that it will repeal the Trump-era ban on immigration from Muslim-majority countries and reinstate DACA. What else would you like to see the new administration work towards or work on with regards to immigration?
Well, one of the biggest things, obviously, is to rescind this current public charge rule. This is a rule that's really about race and wealth tests, and it's deterred so many families from staying enrolled in the essential health, nutrition, and housing programs that they and their family members are eligible for, and that, quite frankly, works to the detriment of us all. And then obviously also making sure that there are more immigrants, undocumented immigrants, who, again, many of them are on the front lines as essential workers, to make sure that they stay insured, because this is, again, a public health crisis, and having any segment of our population that is remaining uninsured, especially those who are on the front line, is a detriment to us all. So those are two big areas for us.
So the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus issued its agenda this fall, and one of the areas for focus is, of course, criminal justice reform, among several others. We spoke to Black Caucus Chair Senator Kimberly Lightford, and here's some of what she had to say about it.
And we've been doing quite a bit of work around that space. We've held 7 subject matter hearings, having discussions from training to chokeholds, areas and ways we can reduce violence in our community, as well as holding the police accountable for excessive force.
AUDRA, what is the Shriver Center advocating for with regard to criminal justice reform?
Well, what the senator is highlighting in the package is really an anti-racist and inclusive economic recovery, and the pillars that she's laying out are a really integral part of this package, because many of these patterns that we're seeing right now, especially the things that are happening in our communities, these are rooted in our nation's history of structural racism, and which curtails job opportunities for Black people through policies and practices such as unequal school funding, mass incarceration, hiring discrimination, and the like. So it's good to see that in the Black Caucus's agenda, and really it is highlighting that the essence of an anti-racist and inclusive recovery, not just for our economy, but also for Black people.
And we also know that the veto session, though, has been canceled, and that was part of our discussion with Senator Lightfoot earlier this week. What does that mean? Is progress slowed down without that veto session?
Well, it's slowed down a bit, but I mean, obviously, this is not stopping advocates from moving forward and planning for a session beyond the veto session. So we're going to continue to fight and advocate. Obviously, we're going to continue to be pushing with the new administration coming in, and still continue to stay engaged with our lawmakers. So this is not, we're not going to be deterred by the fact that the veto session has been canceled.
And also the fair tax that Governor Pritzker was such a big proponent of, the so-called fair tax, I should call it. It's a graduated income tax amendment. It failed on Election Day a couple of weeks ago now, I guess. What does that mean for the people that Shriver Center advocates for?
Well, this was going to be an uphill burden, and we knew this. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we're pleased that more than 2 million Illinoisans voted in support of this more equitable state tax system. So unfortunately, while it wasn't enough voters to meet that very, very heavy burden of amending the state constitution, now what we're doing is we're focusing on what comes next. So we look forward to working with the General Assembly and the governor in the period between now and the General Assembly's next meeting in January to make sure that any strategies that are undertaken to address these budget gaps that we now have do not negatively impact the lowest income of Illinoisans. And that's a group that always tends to be at risk whenever the state's in the midst of these budget problems. But we are still optimistic. We will continue to work hard. We will continue to not only work with the governor, but we're going to press the president-elect and the new Congress for state fiscal relief. And even if this means that we're pressing to increase state revenues that we can use to protect the lowest income people. So if taxes are raised for Illinoisans, all Illinoisans, we can use tax credits like the EITC or the Earned Income Tax Credit to make sure that
AUDRA,
people at the...
Sorry, I hate to interrupt. My apologies. We'll have to leave it there. We're actually out of time, but I do look forward to talking to you about that more in the future. AUDRA Wilson from the Shriver Center on Poverty Law. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Up next, the details of it puts equity front and center in the pandemic recovery process. First, the story of the decorated veteran behind the name of an imposing Southside building. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's stay-at-home advisory is set to go into effect tomorrow. The advisory means residents aren't ordered to stay home, but they are encouraged to do so.
If we continue on the path we're on, and you and me and others don't step up and do more, our estimates are that we could see 1,000 more Chicagoans die from this virus by the end of the year.
And as we've covered throughout the pandemic, the coronavirus has disproportionately affected Black and brown residents in Chicago. As of Friday, city data shows that there have been more than 125,000 cases. More than 70,000 of those were Black and Latinx residents, while over 21,000 were white residents. Recently, the Chicago Community Trust, along with the city, corporations, and philanthropies, launched Together We Rise. It's an initiative that hopes to center equity in the recovery process. I recently spoke with Dr. Helene Gale, president and CEO of the Chicago Community Trust. Gale also spent 17 years at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention working on infectious diseases. I began by asking about the number of COVID cases and deaths within Black and Latinx communities and what that data tells us about Chicago.
This shows the disproportionate impact that COVID has had on communities of color, and Chicago is no exception to that. We know that as a result of both social situations, economic situations, as well as access to health services, that Black and brown communities here and around the country have been disproportionately impacted by that, by COVID from the health perspective, but we know that that also includes the impact economically as well, where Black and brown communities have been disproportionately impacted.
Now, since you've been at the head of the Chicago Community Trust, closing the racial wealth gap has been a priority of yours. According to data from the Census Bureau in 2019, the median income for white households was over $72,000. For Hispanic Latino households, it was just over $56,000. And for Black households, it was just more than $45,000. Why is an equitable recovery for Chicago so important?
Well, it's critical, and the facts that you just gave tell us what the challenges that we're facing. So Black and brown communities went into this epidemic and this economic crisis much more financially insecure and unstable, and it has had the hardest hit on those same communities. And if we are going to recover as a city and as a region, we have to make sure that those communities that were already financially insecure are really given the kind of economic focus and the kind of focus to make sure that those communities recover.
How does the Together We Rise plan accomplish that?
Well, there are three components to what we're trying to do with Together We Rise. One is develop a fund. And, we had a response fund that looked at immediate needs during COVID that raised around $35 million. We think that we can do much more than that, and we launched the fund with $25 million already from philanthropic dollars. We also think that businesses can use their balance sheet, can use their resources in ways that can make a difference as well. So looking at who are you purchasing from? Are you using vendors that come from communities that are hard hit? Are you looking at the way that lending is done so that flexible lending is available to invest in businesses, in home ownership, et cetera? And are there more flexible ways of looking at debt? We know that people have been hard hit by debt as a result of this crisis. So we have the fund, we have business practices, and then we also want to look at policies that could help to build financial security within some of these communities that have been the most hard hit.
In writing about this plan, you often refer to catalytic investment. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that if we pull together the different sectors and look at how philanthropic sector can join with private sector, we can actually catalyze some of the kind of investment in some of the disinvested neighborhoods that can start to spark economic recovery and economic growth. So it's really looking at how do you bring all the different players together to really spur, if you will, and catalyze that kind of economic growth, looking at how philanthropic capital can be used to secure and to build a capacity within neighborhoods so that private investment can actually take hold in those neighborhoods.
How does the private sector, or does the private sector still bear responsibility in an equitable recovery?
Well, I think the private sector has a huge role to play, and we've already seen several private sector consortiums like the corporate coalition stepping up to the plate, or like J.P. Morgan Chase that was part of our Together We Rise announcement, or BMO Harris, Northern Trust, others, banks that are looking at how they can increase their lending to disinvested communities. We're also seeing major corporations that are looking at jobs and access to income and living wages, and thinking about what are the jobs of the future that can actually be used to provide better outcomes and better livelihoods in neighborhoods where there haven't been access to good jobs. So that, they're locating businesses in neighborhoods that there hasn't been investment. So there's lots of ways in which businesses can be part of the solution. And so that's why we're so excited that Together We Rise is really a partnership. It's not just philanthropy, it's business. And at the heart of it, we're bringing community to the table to make sure that the communities that have been most impacted have voice as well, as we think about how we come up with these solutions that can make a difference in this equitable recovery.
We look forward to having you back when there's more to discuss on this as well. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Back with more Chicago Tonight Black Voices, but first to Paris Schutz and what's on tap this week.
Brandis, we've got a lot planned for Chicago Tonight. One-on-one with former Tea Party Congressman turned never-Trumper Joe Walsh. And how the economic downturn is affecting a growing number of women. That's this week at 7 here on 11.
For decades, Chicagoans on the far south side have been waiting for the CTA's Red Line to come to their neighborhoods. Chicago Tonight's Nick Blumberg has been taking a look at a long-awaited plan to extend the train farther south, and he joins us now. Nick.
Well, Branda's plans to extend that very heavily used train line south of its current endpoint at 95th Street have been discussed for years, as you said, all the way back to the 1950s. But the project has been steadily moving from idea to reality in recent years, and the Chicago Transit Authority says it hopes to start a key development phase of the project very soon. Since the early 2000s, community groups have been pushing hard to extend the Red Line farther south.
The city does not end at 95th Street. We have a transportation desert. We have disinvestment in our community, which can be assisted with equitable transportation.
In 2018, the CTA released its preferred plan for where the tracks and stations would be located. The extension would run largely alongside an existing Union Pacific rail line, with stations at 103rd Street, 111th Street, Michigan Avenue at 115th Street, and 130th Street, better connecting the communities along the 5.6-mile stretch to the CTA's network.
Travel times for people living in the far south side of Chicago and south suburbs are some of the longest in the region. And this could add 20-minute time savings for people on their commute, which is a significant difference. And that's just on average, right? So some people would see more than that.
Earlier this year, the CTA awarded a $38 million contract for preliminary engineering work and a final report on the extension's environmental impact, key pieces needed to move forward with the project. The CTA's also lined up funding to make sure the economic development the project spurs benefits area residents and communities.
This project has equity at its foundation, and that's one of the biggest impacts for a project of this magnitude.
Michael Lafargue of the Red Line Extension Coalition wants to see not just better access to jobs, education, and health care, but transit-oriented development around the new stations. He says, think of it like when a rail line would come through a town in the Old West.
All of a sudden, that town becomes prosperous. It becomes a compact area of economics, social life, growth, education, religious life. But very importantly, transit-oriented development also brings economic development and power and the ability for funds to stay within a community.
Keeping those funds within the community and not displacing residents are key. The CTA says it's heard concerns about gentrification and is working with city departments like Planning and Development and Housing. Abraham Lacey of the Far South Community Development Corporation says for years, many neighborhoods around the proposed extension have been a bedrock of single-family home ownership for Black Chicagoans.
However, given that the population is aging, there needs to be a new housing strategy in terms of the rental housing, affordable housing as well as single-family housing that can spur from this development.
Lacey is excited about the possibilities created by extending the Red Line, but he says folks aren't waiting for the train to come through. There's already a lot of work underway to reverse decades of disinvestment, and he says it's important to think about these challenges big picture and long term.
We have to do a 10-year strategy when it comes to how to fund our schools, how to get more help and assistance to Black-owned businesses on the South Side. And when it comes to housing development, we can't be going after these one-trick ponies anymore, where if we build one thing like a grocery store in your neighborhood, then that means that we did all economic development.
And in a city where many people don't own a car, extending the Red Line to Chicago's southern city limits can mean
an improved environment. It means investment into the community. It means investment in immediate walkability. It means better access to education, better access to health care. It's simply a quality of life we have been waiting for.
The CTA's Leah Mooney says the project is one of the agency's top priorities.
Our goal is to enter into the project development phase very soon. This project, I think, is really got legs, so very exciting.
Now, that project development phase Mooney mentioned is a 2-year process the CTA will have to go through to get federal funding for the extension. At the end of those 2 years, the CTA will have to finish 30% of the design and have identified about 30% of the funding that isn't coming from the feds.
Of course. And Nick, what is the price tag for the extension?
Not small. It's estimated at $2.3 billion, which would be the single largest project that the CTA has ever taken on. That's even more than the $2.1 billion modernization of the red and purple lines on the north side. That's underway right now. About half of that would be local money, which could take a variety of forms. That's still not finalized. The other half, the CTA hopes, will come from a federal grant program. Now, we've got lots more about this online, including another project on the far south side that folks have been pushing for, the Roseland Community Medical District, which is located near the proposed Red Line stop on 111th. Brandis.
Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
Since a commission gave Emmett Till's family home preliminary landmark status last month, ownership of the Woodlawn home has changed hands. Now the nonprofit Blacks in Green owns the former home of the teenager who was murdered 65 years ago, visiting family in Mississippi. And the nonprofit says it plans to transform the property into a pilgrimage site to tell the story of the Great Migration. WTTW News reporter Patty Wetley joins us now with more on this story. So Patty, CEO of Blacks in Green called the ownership, quote, more than a real estate transaction. What did she mean by that?
Well, she meant this isn't simply purchasing a building as an investment or to flip it at some point, make a profit, sell it to another developer. This is really about securing the future of a site that has such cultural and historical significance, not just in Chicago, but, you know, across the nation and even internationally.
And what are their plans for the property?
Well, as you referenced, she plans to turn it into what she calls an international heritage pilgrimage site. Understanding that the story of Emmett Till and what happened to Emmett Till means so much to people across the world who've been engaged with civil rights struggles of their own. And so she said she's going to dance on the line between making sure that the property tells the story of the Woodlawn community and its role in the Great Migration, but also the broader story of the Great Migration being told through the lens of the Till family. So, you know, those millions of African Americans who migrated from the rural South coming to the industrialized North, establishing these communities that, you know, at one point were thriving so successfully, and making sure that that history, which she said is underreported, making sure that's known.
Okay, a lot of history there. I look forward to keeping in touch with them, and hopefully we'll hear more from them as they make some progress. Thank you, Patty Wetley, for joining us.
Thanks, Brenda.
And you can read Patty's full story on our website. That's WTTW.com/news. And finally, since we're all missing the city's live music scene, let's throw it back to 1992, when WTTW's Wild Chicago series dropped in on singer Keisha Brown, wailin' the blues.
I will not tell you not much, hey y'all. It's been said on that day, whenever I come to it's a doggone shame I'm lately. I know you like that.
What do you feel when you really feel it happening?
I feel that I'm making folks happy. That's what my music is all about, babe. That's what my life is all about. I've been out here in this business for a number of years, and just to know that people are feeling what I do, because I don't stand on the stage and perform. I get out there with them, and we get with each other and feel each other and holler and scream, and that's what this business is really all about.
When did you first know you were a singer?
I think instead of saying, yeah, I said, hey, baby. What can I say? When you're good, you're just good.
Little adult humor from Keisa Brown there in 1992. And that's our show for this Sunday night. Join Paris Schutz and me tomorrow at 7 on Chicago Tonight. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Brandis Friedman. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, representing dozens of families in the crash of a Boeing 737 MAX 8 jet. Mr. Clifford has been named lead counsel in litigation in federal court in Chicago.